Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is the breakdown. I don't normally do it live, but it is Sunday night, it is 8 o'clock, and this show is basically looking at what Solskjaer did right or wrong, in this case, in relation to the game. And too predictable. Solskjaer making the same mistakes as last year is the sad truth tonight. A few hours afterwards, we've all had a few hours to digest it. Hypocrisy and too predictable is the word I would say. In the press conference on Friday, he said, "We went behind too many times away from home last season. We've got to start better." He sent the team out incapable of starting better, which we'll look on a tactics board in a moment. But ultimately, some interesting points that Solskjaer came out with after the game that feed into the frustration that many fans had about the way he managed the game. Tactically, he's taught us nothing. Tactically, he's developed nothing over the summer. And tactically, we're very predictable to play against. If we don't get that moment of individualism, we don't get the win. And people can say, well, Pogba, that bit of brilliance was individualism when he shot it wide. The one positive I would say is that I thought our set piece on the attack was very good, but it's the same old story. The tempo was too slow, the creativity was poor, and to go through some of the points that Solskjaer said after the game before we go through some of the other things, and one of the best quotes I heard after the game was from Paul Pogba. We've now equalled the away record in the Premier League with the Arsenal side back in 2003-04, which I presume was the Invincible side. And Paul Pogba said, "I'd rather win the league than have that record." And this is the thing. We're getting obsessed with a record that will not give us a trophy. I'm not bothered about how many games we've been away from home. And can I just say, I've calmed down a lot from this afternoon. I can look at this pragmatically now. I've got no interest in our away record. Like, there was no fans in the ground last season. It means nothing. The away record doesn't mean anything because most of the games we played had no fans in the ground. So I'm not bothered about the away record. I don't want us to lose today, but at some point that will lose and that record will disappear. So look, are we going to get excited about next week playing Wolves and breaking the record? I mean, the reality is I look at the league table tonight, I see Chelsea, Liverpool and Spurs on 6 points, and I think, why are we on 4? Because we're not going to challenge. Paul Pogba also said as well, you get the feeling that at the end of the season, those 2 points today is going to be, are going to be vital. Well, we've dropped those points, so those 2 points could be vital. Hi Mark, been feeling so down today. Watching how fantastic Chelsea, Liverpool and City were this weekend makes me feel we are not on their level, says Mark. Well, let's look at what Ollie said, then we'll go into the tactical breakdown. So Ollie basically said that the team fell away at the end. We lost our heads. That could have been fitness or it could have been something else. I don't know what Ollie means there. What does he mean there? We fell away at the end. It could be fitness. It could be hard work. It could be something else. If it's something else, what is it? If it's fitness, you've told us we've had a really good pre-season and you ignored players on the bench who are fit. So, poor substitutions. Is he exposing his poor substitutions there? Because if we fell away at the end, which we visibly did, we did fall away at the end, I think that's down to his substitutions. I think that's down to him. So, he's got to take that on board. He also said that he felt it was a foul in the goal that we conceded on Bruno, which I think it was. But I don't think anybody can dispute that on another day, Southampton would have scored that 1-on-1 if it wasn't for a good save from De Gea or he'd hit it a little bit better. So I can't think we can argue about that. We had plenty of time to get back in the game and we should have won it. So foul on Bruno or not, don't really want that excuse. What he did do, which was quite interesting though, he said whether it's a foul or not, we've got to get your body into that block. You've got to put everything behind it. And we know who he's talking about there. He's talking about stick his foot out Fred. And that's Solskjaer going in on Fred. So interesting or not, he does blame Fred for that goal. I didn't really make a big deal of it at the time. I think you can block it better. But for me, I thought, yeah, if you want to blame Fred for the goal, that's fine. Because at least something's dropped in your head that you're blaming Fred for. Because he should have been subbed for not the goal. He should have been subbed for his performance in the first half. You still kept him on for most of the game, Ollie. So, ultimately, that's on you as well. But I think there's a real contradiction I want to talk about here. The contradiction for me is that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said that we want to start games better. We want to start games on the front foot. And this is how we played in the first half. Let me just drop the ball in there. In fact, it was more like this. It wasn't even that expansive. It was more like this. First half, time and time again, we were like this. And Greenwood was more here, and Bruno was more here, and Pogba was more here. Very defensive back six. Couldn't get out. Swamped us. That was the story of the first half. They got the goal, and we pretty much played that for most of the first half. Our only real threat on that goal was when we got set pieces on the break. Counter-attack FC with a back six, which led us to be second half FC. So Ollie spoke about, not starting badly, playing on the front foot, playing a high-tempo game. And what did we do? Predictable Solskjaer played exactly like he did last year, away from home. Back six and, not a lot going on. The contradiction was, second half, this is what we did. Half-time, as a go at them, changes everything up. Suddenly we do what we thought we were going to do. We go to one holding midfielder with Matic dropping in between the two centre-backs. Fred becomes more box-to-box. We get higher up the pitch. And second half, we were like what we should have been first half. And that's the most simple thing I can show you. First half, it was very much a back six. It was very much last season. Second half, it was very much like it was when we played Everton in the pre-season game, or when we played Wolves last year at the end of the season, and a little bit like we played against Leeds. In fact, a lot like we played against Leeds. So the question would be in the breakdown, why did Solskjaer start the game with the back six, which we're meant to be leaving behind, perform badly like we did a lot last season, and then at half-time say, actually, I'm going to play how we should be playing this season with one holding midfielder and one box-to-box player. And if you look at Fred's heat map, he was here, but he was also here. It's weird for a heat map. If you go on like who scored and look at the heat map for Fred, you'll see Matic's heat map is around this area, which you'd expect because that's mainly where he played in both halves. But when you look at Fred's heat map, it's here and it's here. They're not together. It's one heat map there and it's one heat map there, which shows you in the first half he was playing here and in the second half he was playing here. So why did we not do it in the first place? I don't know. I don't know why he didn't approach the game in that way. That's on Solskjaer, of course. Then we saw what I feel is the most relevant point of this whole game. Remove Lindelof, start Varane. I know he's not number 4, but I've put him as number 4. Start Varane, right? If you start Varane, we never would have needed to do this. We never would have had to play the two holding midfielders in the back six. We just wouldn't need to do it. You don't need to do it when you've got Varane. So that first half never would have happened if we'd had Varane, because we wouldn't have played like that, because he's too good to need two midfielders in front of him. Varane should have started this game like Lukaku started. And the biggest contradiction on this is that you cannot sit there and say, we're not starting Varane after 1 week's training because we want him to be ready, and then bring Jesse Lingard in, who a week ago had COVID and has only trained for a week. He should have started Varane, and it would have made a very big difference, and I don't think anyone's talking about it. Even more than Sancho for me. But he didn't do that. He didn't start Varane. As we know, he started Lindelof, and Varane didn't play at all. So let's remove Varane for a minute and put Lindelof back in. Okay? Substitutions, right. This is where it gets really interesting. You get back to 1-1. Mason Greenwood scores a goal. Half an hour to go. Anthony Martial comes off. Jadon Sancho comes on. Mason Greenwood goes up front and becomes Anthony Martial. He does score a goal, but he gets sod all service throughout the whole game. And I know a lot of people have been critical of Martial, but service-wise, abysmal. And the same thing happened to Greenwood. In the game, we had 15 shots to Southampton's 8. I don't remember a clear-cut chance for Martial or Greenwood created by our team. And I think it's becoming more and more relevant from last season that a lot of our chances on goal come from these three players. Pogba, Bruno, Sancho, Greenwood if he's playing there, Rashford if he's playing there. Most of our shots on goal are coming from these three. I don't know what you're laughing at, Zane. You've got 0 points and you won't have any till mid-September. So shut up. But yeah, that's where our chances are coming from. We're not creating chances for our striker, which is very, very worrying. Anyway, that's substitution number 1. Substitution number 2, Fred comes off half an hour too late. Scott McTominay comes on. We still stay as we are with Matic in the holding role. McTominay makes no difference in the game at all. Maybe he's carrying an injury, I don't know, but he makes no difference in the game. The game doesn't really change apart from Pogba and Bruno are looking the threat. Still can't get Greenwood in the game. Sancho's just feeling his way in. Then the final substitution, the best of the lot. Paul Pogba's the best player on the pitch for Manchester United in relation to a chance being created or scored. What do? We take Paul Pogba here, we take Matic off, and we bring Jesse Lingard on and put him here. Jesse Lingard, who's had no real pre-season, has had to isolate for 2 weeks and has only been back in training for a week. Against the low block, we remove Paul Pogba from the attack, who against the low block is very intricate, and we take him out of the game. We bring Jesse Lingard in, who likes to spin into space against the low block. And we absolutely fall away, like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says. For me, that substitution was horrific. Because the substitution is normally one player for another player. It's normally Lingard comes on, Paul Pogba goes off. But no, it isn't that. We should never have took Paul Pogba off. But we put him in the midfield. We nullify Pogba. We bring Lingard on. We ruin our attack. It was a clueless substitution. It was horrific, and we would not have scored if we'd played for another half an hour, because that front four was dead at that point. It was gone, and the midfield was dead. And actually, Southampton started actually looking more of a threat. The substitutions from Solskjaer were abysmal today. His man management was abysmal. The players did not work hard for him for 90 minutes, and Paul Pogba mentioned it as well. He said, basically, we've got to do better than that. And there's big question marks now over Solskjaer. Now, I think that if I go back to this screen, I think there's a lot of people who want to talk about how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not the right one. Jesse got more goals in him than the rest of the subs, says Robert McCormack. Mate, Robert, I'm not getting into an argument with you tonight. It was an abysmal substitution. If you think it was a good substitution, that's fine. Please tell me how Jesse Lingard performs well against the back six. He doesn't. He's a spin and space player. He shouldn't even be at United. We should have sold him, but it was an abysmal substitution. Absolutely abysmal. Van der Beek should have come on way before that, but the Lingard substitution, I'm not even moaning about Van der Beek. It didn't surprise me that he didn't bring Van der Beek on. But if Ollie wanted to make a substitution from this situation here, let's put Lingard back. So he's got one substitution to go, 10 minutes to go. This is what I'm talking about. You've got 10 minutes to go, right? And you want to make a substitution. What we're talking about here is, yes, Van der Beek should come on. But you should never take off your most potent attacker. Well, he didn't take him off, but he basically did. He put him down here. He put him in the midfield. That shouldn't have happened. He should have stayed there. He was our most likely chance of creating something for us to win the game. And he took him there. What he should have done is took Matic off, kept Pogba there, and put Van der Beek on here. Lingard never should have come on. That shouldn't have happened. That's what I'm talking about. Pogba should not have been moved from the position he was in, and that was the thing that bothered me the most. What I would also say is that we did have a lot of possession. I think I wrote it down. We had 63% possession. We had double the shots on goal, but it never felt like a game that was the case. I think if Liverpool had 63% possession against Southampton and had double the shots on goal, they probably would win the game 3 or 4-1. Manchester United never deserved to win that game. I watched it back on Fast Play just before I came live between 7 and 8 o'clock. And there's not a lot going on. Set pieces, we were very good on the attack. That's where we looked most likely to score. But again, it feeds into what we're talking about constantly. We go back to that Europa League final where we sat as a community and dissected 5 major issues. Some would say 6 or 7. One of the major issues is we don't create enough chances. Good chances. A lot of our chances come from set pieces or individualism. We're not creating many team chances. When I say team chances, you know what? Did you watch Liverpool play Burnley yesterday, or Man City play Norwich? Or even Chelsea today? They create, by moving the ball at a faster tempo, they create chances, crosses into the box. People are nearly getting on the end of it, or they are getting on the end of it. Our tempo is so slow. We do get shots off, but most of them are coming from set pieces or individualism. We're not moving the ball quick enough because we haven't got the players to do it. And that big hole in the midfield, look, I don't even want to talk about it, but that's a big problem. Today, Ollie showed me his true colours, says DK. I defended him with heart. He finally gets the players but plays Lindelof, Fred, Matic and not informed Martial. A brave manager would have played Varane, Van der Beek and Sancho, says DK. I'm going to talk about Van der Beek in a minute because it's a development on what everybody else is saying. But what I do want to say is that I've watched Arsenal tonight. I've seen the normal Arteta out. I've seen United today. I've seen Ollie out. Now, I've got no problem at all with people being Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out because I know there are people in our community who I would respect the fact, even though I disagree with you, I would respect the fact that there has been people who have been Ollie out for a very long time. That's their opinion. They've not changed even over the summer. What I would say to those people who say, I've had enough now, that's the last straw today, I'm Ollie out. We did finish second in the league last year. We did get to the Europa League final. We are unbeaten and we've got 4 points. For me, you can be very frustrated and I'm very frustrated. But to jump to Ollie out, to me, is just very premature and a bit sensationalist. And I don't want to be like that lot down at Arsenal who do that. But I do want to say that there's accountability. And the accountability rests squarely on the shoulders of the manager, the coaches today. Because I'm very glad that, when you do your match reaction, that's personal, isn't it? We give our player ratings, we have our match reaction. A few hours later when I do this show, which is the breakdown, and look at it tactically and what went wrong and how we set up and what we could have done better around subs, etc. I think very simply, in the way we played football was just defensive, predictable, and hypocritical in the first half. It was a back six again. It may as well have been McFred, because it was Matt Fred. That's what it was, a back six with Lindelof and Magaluf, and Lindelof and Maguire. And Maguire didn't have a good game. Was that because we went back to that? Shaw didn't have a great game. You know, that back six just made us... It was a farce. Against a team like Southampton to play like that, it was a farce. We needed to play like we did in the second half and be braver from minute one and move the ball quicker from minute one, which we did in the second half. The second half performance wasn't terrible, apart from the fact they fell away because his substitutions were wrong. When you make substitutions, you're meant to build momentum. We get the goal, we've got half an hour to get the winner, and his substitutions gradually killed us. Like the Sancho sub wasn't bad. The McTominay midfield one made us worse, and the Lingard one killed us off. So his substitutions were terrible, and he killed the momentum. So it has to sit with Solskjaer. I'm very frustrated, and I would go with the line that I said, I think it's the name of the show. Predictable Solskjaer cost United. Nothing has really changed. And I can sit here quite calmly tonight and say I'm very frustrated and I'm very disappointed, but I'm not surprised, because ultimately I think you go into a season hopeful. But I predicted we'd finish third, and I had people saying that's negative, that's a step backwards. But have we not just seen again today why I predicted third? I can't be that person who goes, we're going to win the league just because we bought Varane and Sancho, because I've been watching football for a very long time, and you win league titles by having a football team. We can't pretend, just because we beat Leeds 5-1, that McTominay and Fred, or Matic and McTominay, or Fred and Matic are going to win us a title. That is the engine room of a football team, and it's not sufficient. It's not fit for purpose. It can't win us the league. And that has to, I don't think Ollie thinks it can win the league. I think Ollie does want a midfielder, but I don't think the club will get him one because they needed to sell to buy. And maybe that's weak management by Solskjaer because he's not forced the case enough. But how he's gone in on Fred tonight and said he should have blocked that shot better, it demonstrates to me that I think Ollie knows that midfield's not good enough, and that is why we won't win a title, because it isn't good enough. And I think any criticism or hint of criticism that comes from the manager or Pogba or anyone else who spoke after the game, they will know as well as you know that midfield is abysmal. And that's the problem. As for Ollie out, look, Ollie doubts is always going to be there until he proves as wrong in a different way. He's got to take it on the chin because he's the manager. He had to take the praise last week and he has to take the criticism this week. Most people will beat Southampton this year because they are crap. And I'm talking like top 8. We've just dropped 2 points that we won last year. We beat them last year at their place. We've just drawn with them. That's not progression. That's going backwards. And the most important thing when you talk about going backwards and watching the game again, I didn't really learn a lot than I didn't watching the first time. I think sometimes you watch a game again and again and you see more things. I didn't see more things today. I was very, very almost in a state of deja vu. This felt like a game that last season we might have won late on and gone, what a great result. You think about Wolves, you think about other games where we've put a late block in. That game today might have been a win last year. This year, it's a draw. There was a lot of games like this last year where we did win it by 1 goal. And we went, wow, Ollie's a lucky manager. Well, maybe he's not going to be a lucky manager this year. Maybe those games aren't going to come. And I do think a Cavani would have been very useful today, and we did have Cavani last year. But again, you're relying on these top players to nick a win from a draw. We shouldn't be doing that. Liverpool won't need to do that. They'll dominate a side like that 9 times out of 10. And we didn't dominate. I think we could have won the game, but we didn't dominate, and we didn't definitively deserve to win the game. So I think that when I look at that performance for me, and I'll come to Van der Beek next, but when I look at that performance, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer today disappointed me. He's disappointed me. I'm not Ollie out. I'm not at that stage yet. I think we'll have to lose a few more games, and we haven't lost any games yet. But I am very disappointed and I'm very disillusioned. And I did say over the summer that I might get to the point this year very quickly where I just say he's not the right man. We have still got things to be positive about. We've got Varane to come in, Sancho will get better, Cavani will come back, Rashford will come back. But none of those are midfielders. And this is going to be a problem. You can't get goal scorers to score goals if you can't get the ball to them quick enough. And you can't defend and stop people scoring if you're overwhelmed by the midfield not doing their job. This will continue to be a problem, not having a midfielder. I'd love to say we're going to jump in the transfer window and buy one. I'd love Bissouma right now, but I don't think we're going to do it. But beyond all that, the sad thing is, Solskjaer played a back six for half of the game today. That should have been buried in the summer. He failed to deal with a low block in the last 15 minutes with poor substitutions, bringing Jesse Lingard on against the low block and making Paul Pogba go into the midfield. Abysmal. That's another one from last season that he couldn't do, low blocks. The substitutions were poor. At least he made them, but they were poor, and he ignored Van der Beek again, which we'll talk in a minute. The chance creation for our number 9, again, was abysmal. It's a graveyard shift. We've still not resolved that. And tempo was too slow. But Solskjaer sent that team out. And as I said, let me just say this before I go back to talking about Van der Beek. That was our team in the second half. We played with one holding midfielder. Fred was very much box to box. It was McTominay there, I know, and obviously it's not Van der Beek. Sorry, let me just change that. Yeah, so we had Matic. I've just made Doddy really small. Sorry, Doddy, you won't get used anyway. Fred and McTominay off. So yeah, second half, that's how we played. We should have played like that from minute 1. First half, he sent them out to play like this. Back to the old back 6 days. That's on the coach, I'm afraid. And you can watch it back or you can not watch it back. But I'm telling you now, first half it was a back 6. Second half it was a holding midfielder. That's on the coach. You know, you're telling me the players ignored him for 45 minutes? I don't think so. As for Donny van der Beek, praying, hoping silently this game was to convince the board to buy a midfielder, says Paraz. I've heard that so many times, Paraz, I can't even be bothered to reply to it. I don't think that's it. With these players, come on, man. Jog on, Ollie. Stay up, Mark. Love from Canada. Just drop Lingard's value, by the way, says David Smithson. In relation to Donny van der Beek, I've been thinking long and hard about it this evening. You know, when you're watching a game and it's absolutely rammed down your throat that your manager is incompetent in relation to using a player that would have been perfect for that game. I mean, look, Donny van der Beek may never be a Manchester United legend. He may never be a Manchester United great. But he fitted that game like a glove because he is good on the ball. He can play one-touch passing. He's tenacious and he's intelligent. And he can pass and move. He would have worked brilliantly in that game. And we neglected it to bring a player on who, like I said, a week ago had COVID and has only just trained for a week and is actually no good against the low block. He's a spin into space player. And he removed Paul Pogba to play deep to do that. Abysmal. As I say, absolutely abysmal. But in relation to Donny van der Beek, I've been thinking about this long and hard and I actually don't have an answer. I don't have an answer and I would love to know what the answer is. We spent £35 million on a player that most of our fan base was over the moon about. Over the moon. This wasn't Sean Longstaff from Newcastle. This wasn't a potential youngster from Lille. This was Donny van der Beek, who Real Madrid wanted, who Barcelona were interested in, who was, you know, considered to be one of the up-and-coming midfielders in Europe. United got hold of him for £35 million, and most of our fan base was very excited about that. He proceeded to get cameos last season and looked very good, but never really got given a chance. He finished the season against Wolves in the midfield with Matic and was arguably man of the match. He didn't go to the Euros, but came back early with everybody else to get fit for the start of the season and was, again, arguably man of the match in our last pre-season game against Everton. He's not kicked a ball in the season, even though he's one of the fittest players in the team because he's been training longer. And he's one of the most informed players in our team, as has been proved by his performances in pre-season. He's not been given 1 minute and has been totally and utterly ignored in a game where we were crying out for him. I have no answer. Everything suggests that Donny van der Beek would have got at least half an hour today. He got not even 30 seconds. Fittest midfielder we've got, arguably. Most informed midfielder we've got, arguably. And most suitable midfielder we've got for a game like that. That would have allowed us to keep Paul Pogba further up the pitch. And he gets ignored. I have no answers. And he should be held accountable. Not just from the fans. He should be held accountable by the media as well. But he should also be held accountable by the club. The club have spent £35 million on Donny van der Beek. And all we've done is devalue him. That's all we've done in a year. He's been here for 12 months and we have devalued him. He's been here for exactly 12 months. We bought him last August and we have devalued him. I don't get it. There's something really, really unfathomable I can't even say the word about it, and I don't know. There's nobody that can make a comment to me about Donny van der Beek and make me understand why not. I can normally go, well, look, you know, maybe he doesn't fancy him, maybe he's had some bad performances, maybe he's carrying an injury, maybe he's not as fit, maybe he's not suitable for the game. This is why it's a big, massive question mark. Midfield was exposed like it's been for so long. Not giving Donny a chance was criminal today. Ollie's favouritism and naivety has cost us many times. Our performances are so inconsistent and it's frustrated, says Sharanka. Well, please do smash a like on the video if you're watching, by the way. What I would say is it's ironic that next week we're playing Wolves away and Donny van der Beek played brilliantly against Wolves only a few months ago. Will he get any game time? I don't think so. If I was Donny van der Beek, knowing what I know, which at the moment isn't very little other than absolute, complete and utter confusion, the first thing I would do tomorrow morning is walk into Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's office with a transfer request. I would, because I would be like, there is nothing I can do. I don't want to go, but I've come back before most players. I'm fitter. I've done well in pre-season. I've just sat on a bench for 90 minutes and watched you make substitutions I will never for the rest of my life understand. And the game is crying out for a player like me, and you've completely ignored me. This season, I thought was going to get a chance. And you've already shown me after 2 games, you're going to ignore me. There's a week left in the transfer window. Let's do a big deal. And I'd say that to him. And I'd make him, put him on the spot. Because he'd probably go, thanks, Donny, that's what I'm trying to do. I don't know. Maybe he's trying to force him out. Maybe he wants Donny to put a transfer request in because he knows that if Donny doesn't put a transfer request in and he sells him, it's going to go back against him. I mean, look, my mind's working all over the place here, but I'm starting to think, is he trying to force Donny to make a transfer request because he doesn't want it, but he doesn't want the heat on him? I don't know. That's the worst game I've ever seen for Donny van der Beek ignorance. I just don't get it. I really don't. There's a glimpse of hope only when Ollie swallows his ego, stop preferring his favourites, open his eyes and start playing Van der Beek and the new guys, says Dimple. Mate, the thing is, even if he picked Van der Beek next week and he played well, I guarantee he'll drop him after the international break. We've been here before. He's given Van der Beek games and then dropped him. So, I don't know. I'm stunned by that. And the thing that makes it more heartbreaking is that it's predictable from Ollie. He's not learning his lessons and it's in an area of the pitch that's going to cost us this season. We will not win the Premier League. We will not win the Champions League. And we will not probably win any cup because that midfield is redundant. I mean, you know, I'm not talking about McTominay and I haven't spoken about Matic, but they didn't fill themselves with glory either. They didn't grab hold of the game. McTominay came on for about half an hour. Never noticed him, really. They're just run-of-the-mill midfielders at best. They're Southampton midfielders. They're maybe Everton midfielders. They're not top 4 midfielders. And we don't have one top 4 midfielder at the moment. The only one who might be is Van der Beek. And obviously Pogba, but we play him on the wing. But yeah, massively frustrated. And the tactical breakdown from me tonight would be that Ollie was very predictable and sent us back to last season. But he didn't get lucky. Last season, I think we would have won that game with Cavani scoring a late winner. Not this year. And maybe the luck is drying up a little bit. It's only game 2. There's plenty of things we can turn around. If we go and win our next 7 games, we've won 8 and drawn 1. That's brilliant. But what worries me is we might start to see more of those. Get Varane in the team, get Sancho in the team, desperately try and do something with that midfield, and let's try and get this season going because we've stuttered at game 2. If Cavani played today, would we have won today or wouldn't that have mattered because of how horrendous our midfielders played? We might have nicked it, we might not. But ultimately, where was the chance for Martial or Greenwood that Cavani would have got on the end of? That's my query. Where was that chance? There wasn't a lot of balls into the box that I thought, Cavani would have got on the end of. I see plenty for Lukaku for Chelsea, but, you know, that's Chelsea. Anyway, look, it's only a quick show because this is normally as I say, the tactical breakdown's normally a pre-record anyway, but I just wanted to include everybody in it tonight. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Make sure you check out Adam's match vlog from the game. Very good. My match reaction, player ratings, everything. And we'll see you in the morning. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll speak to you all soon.